Hey there, my name is Carter Balogh. I'm a videographer and editor for the United Football League based out of Arlington, Texas. And I wanted to give a peek behind the curtain inside the league office and also during the preseason a bit. Last time I made one of these, I was working for FC Dallas in Major League Soccer and officially transferred in December of 2025. I work for the league as a whole, but my primary assignments are creating video content for the Dallas Renegades and the Houston Gamblers. I apologize if this video is a little long. Starting with the pre-draft process, the official start of the 2026 UFL season, the UFL draft was a 3-day shoot, with the first day being the coach's introduction to headquarters along with a car wash that consisted of some marketing reads and then a more cinematic interview. The majority of the coaches are brand new head coaches in the UFL, and a lot of them are also first-time head coaches, so we want to make sure that fans can get as much information as possible. The vast majority of our gear consists of Sony FX3s rigged with small rig 99-watt V-mounts and an assortment of Sigma lenses. Their 2470 f2.8, I believe the Mark II, their 7200 f2.8, and the 60-600 f4.5 to 6.3 sport lens, all for Sony E-mount. For the marketing reads, we had two stations that had an FX3 on a short lens with a DJI Mic 2 that looked through a teleprompter from Newer that you could just plug in a laptop, had a little screen, it was great. Everything was lit with Nanlite FC 500Bs. We have 4 of those, and we had their included softboxes on there. And then a GVM panel light that was a nice little hair light in the background if we needed it. Once it was time for interviews, we just lowered everything a little bit, brought in a chair, and then we also had some rental FX6s on a long lens, and that was kind of like our B camera. The reason we didn't go purely with our FX3s for this shoot is because we needed kits in hands for the draft process itself, some of the coaches' meetings that took place in different conference rooms, coaches checking out their wings, and also their draft setups. We also have a group of social producers capturing content with their phones, the DJI Pocket or Osmo Pocket 3, and mainly when they're capturing photos, especially the Sony A7R5. UFL headquarters is divided into 3 floors, with the first floor mainly being a separate business altogether, and floors 2 and 3 hosting all 8 teams, a few conference rooms, and the entire content team. Each floor has 4 teams split into these long wings that are branded just for them. And for the draft, we had all 8 coaches on the 3rd floor in these smaller little rooms and had 2 per wing so that we can make content capture as easy as possible. So we had 4 videographers that was split in each wing that would capture content. Each room was branded with a step and repeat backdrop, branded with the team's logos, as well as having multiple laptops with a draft board and a Zoom call that went back to the main headquarters conference room where they would confirm picks and get the ball rolling. They also had a large TV to where they can put up their draft board. So that was basically just like a large Excel sheet. Each room had a simple setup with a main camera that was either an FX3 or an A7R5 that was locked off and rolling the entire time during the rounds. And then a roaming camera, as I mentioned before, one of 4 videographers, including myself, would be shooting in each wing, and we would go back and forth between both coaches, depending on their picks and whatnot. And then in between rounds, we would take content and quick turn as much as possible. All 8 coaches were also mic'd up for the entire day with the Mic 2s that was going to the locked off camera. We also rented out a bunch of 300-watt fixtures, some Aperture 300Xs, some Godox 300Xs, with like a decent-sized dome to get some diffusion, and we just kept it to 1 light per room on either a C-stand or like a baby stand. Kept it as simple and compact as possible. I think it really worked out. And I'll be showing here some of the videos I produced for my 2 teams mainly. I played around with some overlays, expressions, and After Effects, etc., and created a draft template for my 2 teams, a different template for each one, in order to easily plug and play assets when I got them. Typically, whenever a pick was made, we knew a lot of the picks in advance because of how the UFL draft process works. There's a lot of like allocations, like college allocations, QB allocations, etc. That that happens kind of, well, everything happens off camera, but these were all selected on the end of day 1, and we could be like, hey, all right, we know who we're going to pick. We know who's going to come back from last year. We know who we're picking up from other teams, and we can go in and create content based off that. So the big part was collecting old broadcast assets of people from last year, or cinematic footage from Iconic is what we used to use, and then we switched over this year to scoreplay.io, where we host all of our content. Throughout these templates, I was forced to divvy up the videos a bit, but fortunately I set up the template in a way that it could be replicated and just changed a little bit if I need to, but the meat and potatoes were always kind of the same. And it was a bit of stress though, because we had to produce content for, I would call the core 4 social sizes, 4x5, 916, 1x1 sometimes, and then also sometimes 16x9. And doing all this, getting assets, having to do captions potentially, make sure footage is treated. For a lot of my stuff, for example, if I took old highlights, especially for Houston, they went from the Houston Roughnecks to the Houston Gamblers, so our big push is we don't want to show the Houston Roughnecks at all. We want to push the Gamblers. So to not coincide with that old brand, I would take all the footage. I had like a little gradient overlay of the team colors, like red and yellow, and then I also made all the footage like black and white. And I tried to cover up as much Roughnecks paraphernalia branding as possible. Same with the Renegades. They went from the Arlington Renegades with like an R logo to the Dallas Renegades with like a bandit logo that they've used in the past, and it was kind of the same thing there. Now on to the first day of training camp. It was pretty straightforward. How training camp works here is the first day or 2 is team onboarding. So every team goes to Choctaw in Arlington, which is like a 10-minute walk, and they get tested, get all their measurements taken, height, weight, broad jump, 40, whatever. Well, not 40, but all basic testing, and then they do some basic conditioning. For me, on that very first day, I wanted to do something special. I wanted to get a time lapse of the sun rising over and hitting the doors of HQ. The nice thing about HQ is it's in between Choctaw, Globe Life Field, where the Rangers now play, Texas Live, AT&T Stadium, and Six Flags Over Texas. So it's a nice little area, and it's kind of on its own island, surrounded or separated by a roundabout and also a Hutchins barbecue in the back, if you know, you know. But I set up a time lapse, and I'll kind of show that here. And that was great. I woke up very early to get there. And then from there, I shot both my teams in the afternoon, and we were rolling on training camp. Training camp started the following Monday, and training camp in the UFL consists of 4 weeks of practice, 5 times a week minimum, usually 6, one on the weekends, with at least 3 lifts a week. And every week had a joint scrimmage between another team. Also right in the middle of everything was media days that we had to cover. Training camp was a great time for players to see who will be with them this year, not only players, but also staff, content people, etc. They can get comfortable with us. It was also a great time for me to practice my football skills, because I haven't shot football since 2024, so I shot a little bit of high school last year, but I don't really count that. But it was also a great time, and really a stressful time because training camp was full of quick turnarounds. Every single day we had at least 5 to 10 deliverables that we had to get. And keep in mind, if it's for one team, you multiply that by 2. So I had at least like 10 to 20 deliverables per team to get. which included mic'd up videos of players, coaches, highlight reels, quick clips, and the actual content editing wasn't too over the top, but just the quick turnaround stuff was a bit tricky. And for me, it's hard because I didn't get too much sleep in this time because I live about 45 miles away from Arlington, Texas. So to get anywhere, I need to be up super early in order to beat traffic. If you know anything about Dallas traffic, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I have been fortunate, however, to have a set of grandparents and other relatives that live just within 20 miles of HQ, so I have spent a lot of time with them during the season. If you want a video about talking about the wear and tear of a season and what to do and what not to do, let me know, and I'll talk about it. I'm definitely the perfect example of what not to do. Finally, we had Media Day, which I didn't shoot a lot of BTS, mainly because I'm still not used to grabbing BTS of myself, but this was a multi-day process where teams went through a car wash that consisted of a cinematic broadcast video station, or 3 of them, for intro video, broadcast, hype videos, etc., marketing assets, headshots, graphics, all that kind of stuff, in-stadium assets, mainly in-game content for video boards. We had a couple social stations where guys would just try to guess like the capital of California, you know, Sacramento, or like, are you smarter than a 5th grade? You know, they played like little games like that, and other social media content. I won't get too much more in depth, but my main role was to be the media wrangler for the stations the UFL controlled, and along with some of the social stations, we had 2 simultaneous interview stations with 2 cameras, lights, a black backdrop, and then a little bit of a backdrop set up with the Aperture Infinibars. I kind of messed up the order of the Infinibars. We were going to initially have like a box set up, but I think what we ended up going with worked out very well. And then one final additional station of just marketing liners. Thank you, John. After all the planning, stress, blood, tears, and execution, we as a team got everything together, and at the time I'm recording this, it is currently April 23rd. We are well into the 2026 UFL season. Week 5 currently for me recording. Hopefully I can do more UFL content in the future. Sorry for the long video. Thanks for watching. If you want more content, please let me know, and I would love to promise I would record, but who knows when I'll get the next video out. So have a great day.